Hello and welcome to today's session on how to build an ASP.NET web app that allows us to use some of the data controls. We're going to build two pages, one that has the ability to search for a tweet message. So I'm going to use a very simple table to illustrate this. And then we would have a detail page. So you'd be able to see a master detail implementation. So the master page allows you to search and get some results in a grid view. The detail page would be able to show you some dynamic content based on maybe a selection from the previous page with the grid view. We use a detail view control for that. So let's get started. I would encourage you to follow along to complete Lab 18. All right, so let's go. File, New, Project, Web App. I already had a Lab 18, so go Lab 18A, hit Next, Web Forms, hit OK. Takes Visual Studio a little bit of time to warm up, but hopefully we get what we're looking for, and I think I've got what I want. I'm going to create two pages, two web forms, if you will. Add web form. The first web form is going to be my search page. And then I will add another web form called my detail page. And if you recall what we did, we would probably want to create a connection page. So we're going to be connecting to the database. So I'm going to create a single connection page that simply creates that connection string in the web config, right? That's the only purpose for reason for doing this. So we're going to go design the search page. The search page is going to have a text box, a button, and a grid view. So we'll do the text box. We're going to use that to search. Up here I'm going to put search page or search tweet, something like that, right? This is going to be where you type in the message you're trying to search for, and there is a button maybe right next to it. And I'm going to have a grid view control right down here. And probably would want to add a SQL data source that is specifically tied to this grid view. So this grid view is going to be connected to the SQL data source. All right, let's move this one up a little bit. There we go. So that's kind of the design of my search page. We have a text box where you type in something, click on a button, find it in a grid view. I'm going to go name this text box txt search. This button is going to be btn search. Simply say search. I could probably name this grid view. Let's do that. Get away, Java. Pin this for now so it'll make it easier. We can leave it as is. There's no reason to have to change that. Let's go ahead and design the detail page. The detail page is going to have tweet details, and I'm going to use a details view control, and I'm going to add a SQL data source down here at the bottom. There are all kinds of data tools or widgets, if you will, that you could use. You can have all kinds of different options for this. I choose to use the details view, but you can see you can have a data list, a chart, a form view, a grid view, a list view, a repeater. You can, look up what some of these options are. For this guy, I have this control and that control for now, right? The next thing I'm going to do is create my database table. Let's go create a table. To do that, we need to create a database first. SQL Server database. Let's go with given the convention of naming your database. DB, my DB. Add the app data folder. You hopefully know what that is by now. I want to open this in Server Explorer. I want to add a new table. So add new table. Change the name of the table. This is going to be tweet table. I'm going to change this guy to tweet ID. And change identity specification to true. Tweet message. Virtual 500. Posted date. Let's do a date time data type. Where are you? Here we go. And that's good enough. It's a very simple example. Let's cancel that. I'm going to do an update. Update database. And we're going to go ahead and add some sample data. Let's close out at this guy. Refresh that guy. Columns showing. Show table and data. Some sample data. I'm going to add some sample data to this. And the date 1/1/2018. I'm going to use the power of video to add some additional sample data, and then we'll continue on. All right, so I got a couple of tweets loaded in here, right? Just very simple scenario. Very, very important is that we have this tweet ID primary key column. I've got some sample data, just another extra column for the posted date. Right? That's good enough for what we need to do. I'm going to go back to the detail view, and now I want to configure this guy to point to that database table. So I'll pick my database. Let me look at the connection string. It looks good. Hit next. Next. Tweet table. I'm going to want to select star from that. But in this case, I'm going to order by posted date, right? Descending. So I'm having this guy write some SQL behind the scenes. That's why it was important to learn some SQL. So I know what's going on here. So this is select star from the tweet table sorted by posted date in descending order. Now, what I'm going to do next is I want to make this a dynamic view. So I'm going to apply a where clause, right? So when somebody types in a user ID, or sorry, a tweet ID, a specific tweet ID in the query string value in the URL, I want to dynamically change the content of this page. Now that might be confusing if you don't know what a query string is, but you'd see what that is pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and look at how you would configure that. So right here in the where clause, I'm going to click on that, and I want tweet ID to drive the dynamic nature of this page. So I'm going to say when tweet ID is equal to something in a query string, right? The query string is in the URL. It's a parameter in the URL that allows me to dynamically change the content of this page. And by the way, I want that to be something like T. It could be anything. This is just a query string variable. So if you go to YouTube, you're looking at a specific YouTube video, you'll see youtube.com and the video link. You would have question mark V equals something, right? And that's the dynamic, potentially primary key value of that video. So instead of V, I'm using T for this website, right? There's no default value. I could set the default value to 1. That way, if you navigate to this page, by default, it would have something, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just set the default value to 1 for now, because tweet ID 1 will be the first one that shows. Just hit add. You want to click on add, and then that adds that SQL expression, right? So now I can hit OK. I'm going to go next. If I attempt to test this, I'll be prompted to put in a test value to see a specific tweet. So right now the value is 1. If I hit OK, that means this is what's going to come back. If I test this again, I change the value to 2, or let's say tweet number 4. Hit OK. Tweet number 4 is this message, right? So that means this guy is going to be dynamic, right? So hit finish. Now I'm going to bind this detail view control to that data source, right? The data source we just created. So now I have this guy showing. I'm going to go in and eliminate the tweet ID column field, if you will. So I don't want tweet ID. Let's X out of that. I want to change the header. I just want this to say the actual tweet. I don't want it to say tweet message. Maybe just tweet. Posted on, something like that. Those are the only fields that I'm keeping. In this example, let me change the format and make it look cool. Let's go with classic for now, maybe colorful. Classic is good. Okay. And this is all that's going to show on this page, right? So now we can go ahead and test this. So we go back into Chrome. And hopefully this would launch fairly quickly here. And coming. All right, so by default, when I navigate to the detail page, it's showing me tweet number 1 because that's the default value that I put in. But if I put question mark, now I'm creating a query string, right? Question mark in a URL, any URL. That's what we refer to as a query string. So I put T as the parameter. So I could do T equals 5. So T5 is now pointing to the tweet ID of 5. And notice that changed. So if I would pass in tweet ID of 4, it's the same page, but the content is now dynamically changing, right? So that's what we're looking to do with the detail. So we just built a detail view, and it's not a dynamic page. So if you go to Amazon and you're looking at products, nobody's sitting there building a single page for all millions of products that are sold on Amazon. Instead, there's a template page, right, like a detail page like this, and dynamically the query string value that's passed into this page is changing what this content is, right? So that's the concept that I really wanted to drive home. So now that we've got that in place, we can go build the search page and have a link that you click on from the master page, the search page, to get to this page, right? Dynamically pass in that URL when you click on a link. So let's do that. So on our master page, which is a search page, I'm going to configure this data source. It will be pointing to the same connection string, actually the same table. I'm still going to order by posted date, right? Descending order. But in this one, I'm going to configure it so the grid view would show content based on what you typed in this box, right? So we still need to use the where clause to do that. So where, but in this case, I'm going to be looking at the tweet message is what you're going to be searching on. So what column are you going to be searching on when you type in that box? For me, I'm deciding the column is going to be tweet message. Now, if you know your SQL, you would know the operator we're looking for is the like operator, right? That's why we studied the like operator earlier in SQL. So I'm going to be doing something like against a tweet message. This time it's not a query string, it's not a cookie, it's actually a specific control on the page. So if I pick control, I'll be able to pick the ID of the control. The ID of the control is txt search, right, not grid view. And I can set a default value if I want. So what's the default value that would show? For now, I'm going to have maybe nothing, right? Once I select that, it's building a like. So tweet message like, you see percentage value plus the dynamic value plus percentage. You get the concept, right? You can edit this if you wanted to. So now I clicked add to add it to my SQL expression. I hit OK. I go next. We can test this out. If I put nothing, I get nothing. If I put A as a tweet, I'm looking for a tweet message that has A in it, I get a whole lot of them, right? They're sorted by posted date. So that's the basic idea. So now I know at least the query string piece might work if I could get this search piece working. So let's go ahead and test this out. I'm going to bind the grid view to the data source that I just created. Right, so now it's connected. We're going to go change the format, clean it up a little bit, apply, OK. Let me edit these columns a little bit, change this to tweet message, make it look more legible, post date, posted date, something like that. We could enable paging, maybe even sorting, so on and so forth. I'm going to try to see if I can change the page size. I'm going to change the page size to 5 on the grid view. Right, that means because I have about 7 or 8 items that would allow me to see some pagination, be able to page to the next page, so on and so forth. Right, so here we go. Just give it a whirl. So load this page. By default, there's nothing showing. I type in 1, click search, and I have a couple tweet messages. Pack is 1, Lakers won last night. So you see my search is actually working, right? And I can sort and all that good stuff. I probably don't need this tweet ID column, so I'm going to go eliminate that. I probably need some space in between this, make this look maybe slightly more legible. Would be a good idea. Let's put a space here somewhere. All right. Next thing we need to do is find a way to link this page to the detail page. So if you click on a given tweet message, or actually I'm going to create an extra column, you could configure it to be when you click on the tweet message, it takes you to a detail page and you would see a little bit more information. In this example, it's maybe not the best example because you pretty much maybe I'll hide the posted date here, so you would only see the posted date on the detail view. I'm just trying to show you an example where you have maybe a few columns that you show on the search results, but if you go to the detail page, you can see a lot more content from for that item, right? So let's do that. So we're going to go in here, and I'm going to eliminate posted date at least for now, right? So you can't see it. You'd only be able to search and see tweet messages. But I want to create a hyperlink, a link, right? that allows you to go from this message that gets listed to maybe a detail view. I'm also going to eliminate the tweet ID. I'm not going to be able to see that. Actually, let's keep it for now. We'll eliminate it later on. So this hyperlink field, I can set a header text, header URL, but what I'm really interested in is setting the data navigation URL format string, right? So now I'm going to do an interim step just to get the right relative path of the URL, right? So if I click on navigation, I still have hyperlink field selected, now navigate URL. I would actually be able to pick what my detail page is, which is this guy. And all I wanted was to have this format. So I'm going to cut this. I don't really need to set the navigate URL. What I really want to do is set the data navigate URL format string. Okay, so I pasted this in here, and I'm going to do question mark t equals, and then we're going to do a placeholder for 0. This t equals, remember, was what we were using for the query string on this page. So this will be able to dynamically determine something, and then we'll plug in something into this 0 position, right? So where is this 0 position value going to come from? That's what the data navigate URL fields is going to be. So here I'm going to type in this value is coming from tweet ID. So I could do tweet ID in here. Right, so data navigate URL fields, not the data text field. I don't have a drop down for this. So long as you know what the ID is, whatever your primary key is, probably is going to be what gets plugged into here. Right, so that's that. Let's give that a shot. Let's make this maybe a little bit longer. Test it again. So we search for 1. I get this stuff. Oh, actually, I forgot to show some additional fields. Let's go back in the hyperlink. And we need to have some type of text that shows when you open up the grid view. So let's set that. So I'm going to set that value. We'll set the text property. Let's say we'll have it say show details. ... All right, so you see show details, and that would be the link that we click on to go to the next page. Just again, we could configure the tweet message to do that. I'm just showing you an example where we have a different field do that. So let's look for 1, search. Now, when I hover over this, notice at the bottom of my screen here, I have localhost is going to details.aspx t equals 2, because this is 2. Right, so if I click on this guy, it now goes to this page, and I see yay, Packers won, and the posted date. Now if I click on Lakers won last night, that goes to t equals 8. I see Lakers won last night, but I'm on a different page. So I've got this master detail capability with the ability to search, and I can go to page 2, page 1. For each one of these, I've got a dynamic thing going here. And that's all this is about. You get an example of how to build a query string dynamic template page master detail view. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.